The Lunduke Journal, in the month of September, had over 11 million views of shows, including listens of the audio podcast, but over 11 million, 11.1 million. Holy heavens. And that's up from the August number, which was a little bit over 9 million, just growing. I mean, we're up, well, what is that? It's a 20% some odd jump in views of shows just month on month. Just phenomenal. Phenomenal. At the same time that that's happening, the big tech sponsored tech news out there, outlets, the brand X tech news, seems like they're buying their views. What few views they get, they seem to be buying them. I want to walk you through some of this and give you a little bit of behind the scenes, seeing a little bit of how the sausage is made, so to speak, at a tech news outlet, right? How we keep the lights on, how we keep things going. This is a little inside baseball-y for those of you who are interested in the world of tech journalism. So let's start out with some stats for the month of September. The short version is this. So these are stats for the Lunduke Journal for last month. Views skyrocketed to over 11 million. New free subscribers was way up also. Over 7,000 new free subscribers across the primary platforms. The total number of shows that the Lunduke Journal has produced so far this calendar year, since January 1st, is growing pretty fast. And we're on track to hit 300 shows sometimes in the next few weeks. And if we go at the current pace, we will end 2025 having produced more than one story every day. So 360 something odd stories by the end of the year. On the flip side, so those are all great numbers. On the flip side, new paid subscriptions during September was actually down substantially, which is in correlation to us trying an experiment to do away with sales, discounted, oh my gosh, everybody, 20% off new subscriptions, those sorts of things. We didn't do any sort of sales during the month of September just to see how that would work, to not run any sales. And wouldn't you know it, new subscriptions dipped as would almost be expected. So it's a mixed bag in some ways, but overall really good results. Great numbers. Here's just the straight stats. We've done 274 shows so far up through earlier this week. That's for this year. 11.1 million views or listens during the month of September. That's people who watched the videos or listened to the audio podcast. We have a total of 139,315 free subscribers, not paid subscribers, but that also does not include people who subscribe to the audio podcast feed. That's just subscribers on platforms like X or Substack and the like. And that it includes 7,498 new free subscribers on those primary platforms. That's crazy growth. So 20% jump in views, the number of times the stories were viewed or listened to during the month, month-on-month growth. And total free subscribers grew by over 5% month-on-month. I think it's like 5.6 something percent. Those are crazy good growth numbers, and we're seeing that kind of consistently now. We're just growing faster and faster in terms of just getting the news out there. The other tech news outlets that are out in our field, theoretically covering big tech, open source, enterprise tech, and that sort of thing, man, they would kill for those numbers. And so this really reinforces that the overall content strategy from the Lunduke Journal is working astoundingly well. It's basically this: 3 prongs. Focus on the stories that no other tech journalist is covering, right? We're not covering the same exact tech news that everyone else is. We cover the other stories, the ones that the other outlets ignore. 2, we publish everywhere, right? We're not just on YouTube like a lot of YouTubers. We don't just have a podcast where we publish on, how many platforms is it? Like it's a huge number of platforms: local, Substack, X, Spotify, the podcast, Rumble, Patreon, on and on and on, right? So we publish everywhere. So wherever the audience is, you can go ahead and grab the shows and share the shows. And third, we're publishing all the shows for free. The combination of those three things is a clear, indisputable winner in terms of getting the stories out there. The stories published by the Lunduke Journal are spreading further and further every month. This is amazing, amazing news. Truly, truly stellar. Now, what's not working? What's not working here was the no sales experiment. Woohoo! That just didn't work at all. Here's a little background on this. So, well, you know, I'm just going to read what I wrote here in this post, and I'll also link to this so you guys can check it out as well. Not every strategy can be a success. Case in point, experimenting with having no sales and subscription discounts. That did not work. With the rapidly growing audience size of the Lunduke Journal, September, last month, seemed like a good time to test the waters by no longer doing any subscription discount sales, right? You see, most tech news outlets are on the verge of going out of business, right? They're barely hanging on. Most of them are teetering on the edge of oblivion almost every month, despite the fact that they take funding, a lot of funding from big tech. We'll talk about that more in just a moment, because the business model for the other tech news outlets is precarious at best. Right. So they take money from big tech for paid stories, advertisements, etc., and they still are barely surviving. Now, since the Lunduke Journal has a firm no big tech money policy, or big no money from companies policy, just in general, we've relied entirely on subscriptions and one-time contributions from all of you in order to stay in business, right? Now, one of the most effective tools in the Keep Us Big Tech Free tool belt has been discounted subscription sales, right? So things like, hey, everybody, I'm going to club a baby seal to make a better deal. Get 25% off new subscriptions to the Lunduke Journal. Act now, right? Those sorts of things. Over 60% of the Lunduke Journal's income over the last calendar year has come in via those sorts of sales. In previous years, that number was even higher. Like the year prior to that, it was close to 80%. Huge, right? I mean, the Lunduke Journal, if we had not been running sales and discounts periodically, we would not be in business at all, which means all the stories that we've told and the news that we've broken would never have been told by anyone. But I had a question though. What would happen if we did away with the sales entirely? I really wanted to answer this question in large part because that would free me from needing to run those sorts of sales. And let's be honest. I think a lot of you love the Lunduke Journal, but the one complaint that most of you have about the Lunduke Journal is sales. Right? Because it's annoying to hear about sales. But it's the one thing that keeps the Lunduke Journal running. So it's been a thing. It's been a necessary evil, so to speak. So I wanted to know, would it be possible to do away with sales with the generally exploding size of the Lunduke Journal audience? So now seemed like a good time to test that theory out, right? We had a little money in the bank. We were doing okay financially. The number of new free subscribers was skyrocketing, as we just talked about. Let's try it. So I resolved to run 0 sales, no discount promotions and whatnot during the month of September, this last month, to see how it went. And the results were absolutely horrific. They were not sustainable, to put it mildly. They were worse, in fact, than I thought they would be. So after a month of no sales, at the start of October, I decided to run a different kind of promotion, right? Not a traditional discount sale, but something a little different. We did a sale, or not a regular sale, but sort of a thing where you could get a subscription and get a few subscriptions free to gift to someone else, right? Some sort of a promotional incentive that wasn't a traditional sale. And those results were also nowhere near what was needed to make up for the lack of traditional sales anyway, which means that if we did stuff like that, those sorts of non-traditional promotions, we would actually have to do more promotions, which that's no good. That's going in the wrong direction, right? Now, I'm still looking through all the numbers. I keep spreadsheets of everything. Many of you will know this. I worked on Microsoft Excel for many years. I was part of the Microsoft Office team. And so I'm a spreadsheet guy. I love spreadsheets. I love spreadsheets very much, perhaps an unhealthy amount. So I keep spreadsheets of everything related to the Lunduke Journal over time so I can track and see really what works. I'm still looking through some of those numbers to really kind of hash things out, but the general gist is clear. In order to keep the Lunduke Journal sustainable into the future, traditional sales, hey, 20% off, that sort of thing, need to come back. They need to make a return. Oh, well, getting rid of sales was worth a shot, but the priority has to be keeping the Lunduke Journal online into the future so these stories can get told. On the plus side of all this, and this is really, really important, bringing back those sales is going to allow us to remain big tech free and keep us running well into the future, because with the sales that we had prior to this last month, we were doing just fine. We were keeping the lights on. We'd kept the lights on for many years to this point, using exactly that strategy. And we're just going to keep doing that going forward. And this is very, very clear. This is already a huge improvement over the other Brand X tech news outlets, which are basically just selling you content prepackaged from big tech itself. So at least we're getting actual news, and it's ad-free news. So that's pretty great. Before I dive into the details around the other tech news and how they're doing in relation and the strategies they're taking, I want to point out, if you go to lunduke.com, see, we've got sales back, and you do it this weekend so it's Friday, October 10th through Sunday, October 12th. We're just going to do a huge, massive sale of 50% off everything. Monthly subscriptions, yearly subscriptions, lifetime subscriptions. Go to lunduke.com, and right there in the middle of the right-hand side of the page, it says 50% off of everything. Click on that, and you'll go to an article that takes you through all the details, which means you really can get 50% off a monthly subscription. So $3 monthly subscriptions, or $27 per year, which I think works out to like $2 and something per month, or you can get a lifetime subscription for $150. They're all up there. Go to lunduke.com and click on that. So we're gonna get these sales going again, and we kind of need to make up for September. Because September, we lost a lot of money in September. Oh boy! And it's not just that we left money on the table; it's that we ate into savings in order to keep things running, in order to do that experiment. And you might say, well, Lunduke, maybe you shouldn't have done the experiment where you did away with discount sales during the month of September. Maybe you're right. But what's done is done. We've now learned from that and moved forward. We'll do a big giant sale this weekend. If you want to support the Lunduke Journal and help us feel a little more comfortable here, feel free to go ahead and grab a subscription. Now, let's talk about the different strategy that the other news outlets are taking. And I've talked about this in the past. Here, I've talked about how there's this strange thing happening in a lot of the big tech news outlets where they will have millions of followers on social media networks and yet get 0 or 1 like, or they'll have 6 million followers, but they'll only get like 1,000 views of their articles, which calls into question whether or not they actually even have those hundreds of thousands or millions of followers that they claim to have. Considering, I believe the Lunduke Journal on like social media sites like X and whatnot outperforms every single major tech news outlets in terms of the performance of the posts on X. And yet the Lunduke Journal, I think we're sitting at something like 20,000 followers on X compared to the millions of some of the other ones who get far less views in the Lunduke Journal. It's crazy, right? It's crazy. So I really wanted to show you guys why that is. And one of the most obvious examples I can give is this little news outlet called The Cube. Now, many of you may not have heard of The Cube, but they've been around for years and years. It's called SiliconANGLE's The Cube. And what The Cube does is they package up news broadcast style interview videos for tech news outlets, and then they sell themselves as a tech news publication, so where you can go to get all the latest important tech news, right? And most of the big tech companies pay the Cube a great deal of money. In fact, I used to work at SUSE, one of the oldest Linux companies, and SUSE did that as well. We would hold events like the SUSE conference, or we'd go to events like Open Source Con, or OzCon, or the Linux Foundation events, and various other things. And SUSE and other foundations and companies would pay the Cube company to come in, set up a booth, which was like a little mini news recording set, and do paid interviews that were really, in many ways, pre-planned, often pre-scripted news interviews, where it was just us talking, or our CEOs talking to a newscaster about whatever our press release was, right? There was no real actual journalism going on there. And what's really crazy about this is when you dig into it, it looks like the Cube doesn't actually have any real views almost at all. It is all paid. Let me go through this here. So the Cube's business strategy, it's simple. And I'm going to walk you through it because it's obvious, and every other tech news outlet copies this. First, big tech gives the Cube money. The Cube then produces a network news style video pitching whatever big tech's message is with no pushback, right? It's usually pre-planned, or reading a pre-written press release, usually written by the company and handed to the Cube newsacres, right? These are beyond puff pieces. They're paid advertisement pieces, essentially pre-packaged and sold to you as a news piece. Now, one of the challenges with this plan is, I think, pretty obvious. Nobody wants that. Nobody actually is interested in what the Cube produces. No one. It's been around for years and years and years. And when you look at their view numbers, they have a hard time, in most ways, even getting the companies who paid for them to watch them. It's just no one wants this. No human being wants to watch nothing but bland puff piece advertisements paid for by an enterprise computing company, right? So in order to make this work, they have to pretend to have a large audience. They have to fake it. And this is what the entire tech news industry is doing right now. Let's take a look at the counts for the Cube. Let's bring this up here. So they've got, here we go, 19,000 followers. Okay, 19,000 followers, not too shabby. That's a good number of followers on X. Well, now let's look at an average run-of-the-mill, actually decently performing post of theirs. Here's one on digital accessibility isn't just policy anymore. It's a trust crisis in the making, and talking about AI, and AI takes the wheel as digital accessibility deadlines speed closer, right? And it's basically just a paid puff piece. Well, who saw that? Well, of their 19,000 Twitter X followers, one person clicked the like button. One. If I post a post on X that just says the letter S and nothing else, it will get, I don't know, 100, 200 likes. And they had a whole video thing that they produced that got paid for by big tech, and one person clicked the like button with 155 total exposures, right? Crazy lows, crazy low numbers. Even their most popular posts that they've posted on X over the last year or so get 0 comments, none whatsoever. Maybe 1 or 2 likes at the most with a handful of views. It's crazy. So let's take a look at their YouTube channel. Now, their YouTube channel is a little bit different. They have 73,000 subscribers. Again, 73,000 subscribers. That doesn't sound too shabby. And whoa, would you look at this? Let's pull this up here. I got some screenshots here. All right, so 73,000 subscribers with 18,000 published videos. And if you look at average run-of-the-mill videos from Silicon Angles theCUBE, you get around 8,000 views, 6,000 views, 7,000 views. They all tend to be right in there. Hey, thousands of views, right? People are watching them on YouTube. Or are they? If you take another look at those videos, and I'm going to bring it back up here in a second, you'll notice almost zero interaction. 1 or 2 thumbs up, usually 0 comments. And if a comment does exist, it's usually a bot which posts emojis. Here, I'll bring this one up here. This one has 8,000 views with 3 thumbs up. Now, lest you think, oh, well, that must mean there's hundreds, if not thousands of people doing the thumbs down. It must be a very unpopular. No one's putting the thumb down either, because no one cares. No actual humans even saw it, and there were 0 comments. Now, if you've been around YouTube long enough, you know that it's statistically just impossible to have a video with 8,000 views and 0 comments and 3 thumbs up. That does not happen. It does not happen. And this happens regularly, many, many times every day, consistently from theCUBE. Those aren't real people. They're bots. Those are not humans. Those are paid views. The people that are following them are paid followers. Big tech gives tech news money. Tech news produces puff pieces and spends some of that money to buy views in order to justify to big tech that they need more money. Rinse, repeat. This is happening all across the major tech news outlets, and it's happening at scale. theCUBE is just a tiny player compared to the others, right? But this similar strategy is being enacted by all the big dogs of tech media. We're talking Wired, Gizmodo, ZDNet, Ars, The Register. The story is the same wherever you look, to different degrees. Some of these outlets have a legitimate audience. It's just not large enough, so they have to fake it a bit. Some of these have no audience, and they have to fake it entirely, as is the case with theCUBE, right? It's easy to show, and it's obvious. And this starts to show you why the Lunduke Journal has the numbers that we have. 11.1 million views during September. None of those are bought. None of those are bots. And you can tell that because of the large number of human interactions, of people commenting, quote tweeting in non-bot ways by verified accounts, right? You can see it as being authentic interaction, authentic subscribers, authentic real humans commenting on real human produced news stories. And it's not really just that these outlets are faking their news, and it's also not just that they're pre-packaging press releases from the big tech sites. A lot of times, and in an increasing number, theCUBE not so much, but in an increasing number, many of them are using AI chatbots to spit out the articles that are based on the press releases. So not only and yes, that includes some of the ones that I've mentioned here today. So not only are you getting advertised to, but they're really pretending to tell you a real news story. And not only are you one of the few humans that's actually viewing that content among a sea of bots that are watching it, but the exact words that you're reading or hearing are AI generated to boot. It is ridiculous. This is the state of tech journalism right now in 2025, and it's abysmal. I was talking with a friend of mine that works at one prominent news outlet that is among the ones that's listed right there. And he was lamenting because he kind of felt like he wasn't long for continuing to be in the industry. He was going to stop being a tech journalist. And I was talking to him about it, and his real concern was there was no path forward for getting raises or promotions anymore. It didn't really matter how many years of experience he had. It didn't matter how knowledgeable about the tech industry he was or what a great writer he was. The outlet he was writing for had internal quotas to meet for moving their articles to being AI generated, and B, they wanted their tech writers to spend more time editing AI generated articles, right? So they were taking very, very experienced tech journalists and assigning them to edit articles cranked out from an AI chatbot. And those articles were based on press releases and notes written by the big tech companies that fund that tech news outlet. When I tell you that more than 50% of the tech news articles that you're reading on the major tech news sites are AI generated, that's an understatement nowadays. It's getting ridiculous. It's really, really getting ridiculous. And again, you see that with the numbers. With the number of free subscribers that the Lunduke Journal has, 139,315, we should not be getting the numbers that we do. The Lunduke Journal should not be getting over 11 million views in a single month, but we are. And it's not because I'm the best writer in the world. It's certainly not because I'm the best dressed guy in the world, though my dad uniform is pretty on point. No, it is simply because it's written by a human, filmed by a human, and it's telling the stories that the big tech news sponsored tech journalists are unwilling to tell. And it's actual tech news. Whether you like the news I promote or not, or whether you like my point of view or not, is almost irrelevant. There's just not a lot of other tech news outlets that are actually telling you real tech news now. And I think people intrinsically know that. So they just avoid those other tech news outlets entirely. It's crazy what's happening. It's absolutely wild. But thank you to the Lunduke Journal subscribers, the free subscribers, the paid subscribers, all of you for making this all possible, and for sticking with me as I kind of traverse this very bizarre business strategy of trying to get real tech news out there. You notice no one else does what the Lunduke Journal does, and I don't say that as no one else has the guts to put out the news stories. No one else approaches the business this way. And if you look at all of the business strategies of all the big tech news outlets, what we just talked about, they're all going the same approach. It's all variations on a theme. They take money from big tech, they buy views, they use AI, they prepackaged puff pieces, right? It's the same strategy over and over and over again, and they're barely staying in business. And the Lunduke Journal is just not willing to go down that strategy, which means we're kind of blazing a path that's unique. And it's tricky. It's really tricky to pull this off. How do we stay in business without taking a single penny from big tech companies or even just little tech companies? How do you pull that off? And so you've seen, as the Lunduke Journal has tried for many years now, a variety of different strategies in order to stay afloat without taking money from big tech for anything. And some have worked, some have not. We've had to do a lot of fine tuning and a couple of false starts of let's try this strategy. Whoa, that didn't work. Like what we just saw in September, where we tried to do no discount sales. That didn't work. Okay, all right, we'll rethink it. In order for the Lunduke Journal to stay afloat, we've had to stay very, very light on our feet. And that's meant a lot of different attempts at different types of strategy. So I really appreciate all of you sticking with us as we get this all figured out. We've figured out a lot of things, like the strategy of how we put content out there and what sort of news stories we focus on, how we publish our stories. All of those things have really become fine-tuned over the last months and years, and I thank you for helping us do that. My hope is that by putting a lot of this information out there and talking openly about the pluses and minuses to the various approaches with publishing this type of tech news, and the attempts that we've made at different strategies and the successes and the failures, that other tech journalists will look at this. Hopefully tech journalists with different viewpoints than mine will look at this and say, okay, I can make a go of this. I can start publishing truly independent tech news on my own and make it work. And it can have real big tech free value for everybody. And I'm hopeful that that's the case. We'll see. We'll see if that helps others at all. But I'm trying to be as open and transparent as I can in the hopes of helping people out. Once again, go to lunduke.com. There's grab a subscription if you want to help the Lunduke Journal out to keep us afloat. There's that 50% off monthly, yearly, and lifetime subscriptions. You can pick those up from locals, from Substack, you can get the lifetime subscription via Bitcoin even, and that'll take you over to an article that gives you all the details, walks you through all of it. It's fantastic. And by the way, if you haven't seen it yet, the number of perks for subscribers is just getting bigger and bigger all the time. You get exclusive forum access, which is a ton of fun, and you get that access whether you subscribe on Locals, Substack, Patreon, X, or YouTube. Any type of subscription gives you access to the forum. We have MP4 downloads of every episode that comes out of the Lunduke Journal over the last 2 years. So everything in 2025 and 2024 is online, DRM-free MP4s. Just because you can download it, throw it on a thumb drive, stick it in your TV. I don't care. You can watch it however you like. There's also a bunch of ebooks and whatnot you can grab for free. There's a children's book about Linux and all sorts of stuff. So go grab that. That's the 50% off is only good through Sunday, October 12th. October 12th, I think. Yeah, Sunday, October 12th. Go pick it up. Support the Lunduke Journal. Keep us afloat so we can keep publishing these sorts of stories, so we can keep those numbers going up. Oh, you guys want me to give you a little sneak peek? I don't know how this is going to go the rest of the month. We are currently at October 10th. If over the rest of October, the numbers stay consistent with what they have been over the first 10 days, that 11.1 million in September, yeah, we're going to blow way past that. I know. I'm probably jinxed it. I probably jinxed it. Next week, watch. No one's going to read or watch the Lunduke Journal next week just to spite me. But right now, we're on track, and that's pretty friggin' phenomenal. All right, with that, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, nerds and nerdettes across the inner tube, I do declare, end broadcast.